Welcome to I'll Be in the Garage. I'm the gorgeous Steven Pankratz, and on this channel, the conceit is that I have budget skills, budget tools, and Cadillac dreams with a leitmotif of charming mistakes. Here we go. Look at this kitchen. This kitchen is the wrong kind of small. A galley kitchen is the right kind of small. Snug, to be sure, but every space has a function. Maybe you can't pull out two drawers at the same time, but everything is there, including, most importantly, enough workspace to prepare a big meal with more than a few courses. Our kitchen isn't snug, it's barren, and that's all about to change. I don't have permission to move walls around, but we can embiggen the workspace and storage available where we need it by plopping a big, beautiful kitchen desk, TM, right here under the window. Leah liked the way that her office desk turned out, with simple lines, a golden oak stain, with a satin finish on that pricey Baltic birch plywood, which, on closer inspection, is from Russia. Commie wood! With those design cues, I spent some time at the drawing board and decided to use some cute ratios to make it come together, like multiples of 16 inches. 16 inches deep, youch! 32 inches tall, and 48 inches wide. We're gonna do the same exposed edge with no batten or banding because Leah is in her line period. We've got two shelves to fit our nice, beautiful cookware, closed storage under that for recycling, and a stack of drawers for junk. I mean, what else do you put in drawers? I've never made drawers, and I've never made doors, so I'm going to play this on easy. No dovetails, minimal hardware. Should be fine. I learned from the big desk project that having to sand and stain and seal on the floor of my garage is an insult to my joints, so I've moved into the big leagues and made myself some elevated workspace for a more civilized garage. I already had these two sawhorses, which I wanted to continue using, so I built around them. I got a big sheet of melamine coated MDF, had the teenager at Mr. Plywood cut it into 4 2-foot by 4-foot sections and put a little rail under each bit. The rail is notched so that I can either assemble it with a single section on the sawhorse, or I can put two beefy studs between the horses and all 4 sections will snugly fit across the long way. Sweet. I'm calling this thing I'm making the kitchen desk. I guess it has the features of an island, but no marble top, and it's inaccessible from one side, so maybe it's kind of like Mount Athos, or any peninsula, to riff on its island-like qualities. I started making this before I had figured out exactly how I was going to connect everything, except that I was told to have no screw heads visible on top. I took this as an opportunity to put in one vanity move and attempt a wizard mind trick, a mitered rabbit joint. It's like half mitered and half rabbit. So half mitered is, there's some 45 degree in there, and rabbit is like some overlappy stuff. You'll see. I even bought an extra long face 90 degree router bit to make it happen. Extra long face. I call it Eeyore. The shelves are mortise and tenon, kinda, in that the tongue sticking out of the shelves is the tenon, and the routered grooves they glue into are the mortices that's on the uprights. I made the mortices a hair deeper than necessary to give room for glue, and also to make sure that distance between uprights is set by my careful tenon cutting, not anything else. My mortises leave something to be desired, and always end up just a smidge looser than preferred, but I can hide that with a shim where no one will ever know. Shh, sub rosa. The only other mortise and tenon is how the central upright connects to the desktop, and that went fine. No notes. With all my major cuts done, I decided to put off making drawers until everything else was to my liking. including glue, because there was no way I was going to make drawers for an underbaked project, not with all my apprehension about drawers. With the kitchen desk assembled, I saw my first ouchie. The first wizard trick I had attempted, the mitered rabbit joint, wasn't coming closed. I had even followed official YouTube advice, TM, and cut them a little past 45 degrees to make sure that if they don't snug, then at least the gap would be on the inside where it would pass unnoticed. Psych. I'm gonna putty that up later and call it a learning experience. So the last bit of cutting was to get those doors fitted. Bloom makes some plum hardware, and the nice old Viking dude at Woodcrafters helped me pick the flush close, non-self-closing variety. What I forgot to ask was which way to install them, so my second big error was these war crimes on the insides of the door. I had the hardware backwards. Once I figured that out, which was a very tense evening at the Pankratz home, very touch and go if my blood pressure would be audible through the walls of the garage, I got the doors installed, nice and snug, and could disassemble everything and move on to finishing. Enter my third major error. I got these hand-me-down tools from my grandpa, and I'm learning why he hadn't used them in a while. His circular saw screams because a bearing is out, and the motor actually scrapes where the rotors and stators should be air-gapped. I think the router works, but I'm scared to find out now. The belt sander seemed innocuous enough, so I thought, let's quickly do a good job making the kitchen desk feel nice. After having done a pass over one entire side of the project, I see the snail trail, boustrophodont, where the slight unevenness in my application of pressure was multiplied by the power of the sander into a sand of shame. I can't putty that, and damn if I'm starting over again. Textured it is! From now on, this tool lives upside down on my workspace where I bring wood for the edge work and not the other way around. With all my surfaces prepped, I give past Steven a high five for making this work surface. I stuck with the Danish oil golden oak, like Leah's desk, and just applied one layer to each side. In addition to having an elevated work surface, I also used these disposable spready boys to apply the stain and some cheapo rags from the Bago rags to unapply. They were a time saver, no mistake, big recommend. I decided to send it when it came time to apply the clear coat, a semi-gloss polyurethane, and use the same kind of spready boys. They get a little tacky between coats, so they weren't as material efficient, but that would be a problem with cheapo brushes as well, and the finish came out fine after sanding, so who cares? Speaking of sanding, I got a palm sander a while back, used, thinking that not lugging batteries around while I worked would save some sap on my part, and yeah, that's basically true. The specific truth is that this sander had worn down the pad that spreads pressure out on the paper, and the machine screws were poking through. I glued a layer of vinyl and then a thin sanding sponge on there to replace the neoprene, and now it's fine. Now it do a good job and not a bad. Now before I clamp and glue, I need to address the lack of planning concerning attachment. I'd love to use dominoes or biscuits or dowels, but I honestly don't feel like investing in that yet or trying too much harder. I have limited emotional bandwidth, and I spent it on those damn doors. Now I just want things to work. So to hold things together, I'm leveraging the fact that the back is not going to be visible, and I put 2 big sheets of ugly 1/2-inch plywood on the drawer section and the shelf section. Not in the doors section. That's actually open because there's a vent for the air conditioner that's going to be over there, so it needs to be open. Anyways, this should hold my 2 outermost uprights parallel to the middle one and keep them honest. This is not pretty, but it's also infrequently seen. Like Golem. So here we are, surface is smooth if wavy, and with the aid of clamps, everything will fit together pleasingly. It's even already rigid, thanks to those backing boards. So now, with love for the brothers chaps, how about a little glue, some clampy clamps, wipe it off 'cause it's gonna run. Walk away, turn out the lights, it needs to cure overnight. Alright, drawers time. I've never made drawers, and it's the last hurdle before I schlep it indoors where it belongs. I didn't feel like spending another red cent on this project, so remember, no drawer hardware. That means, in order for it to be strong but usable, I need some clearance between parts, but not too much. I cut all the drawer pieces I'd need, which is a bottom and 4 sides, where one pair of sides is 2 board thicknesses shorter than the other, approximately. I didn't use a ruler to plan this stuff, but I did use it to make sure that the stuff I cut would fit where I wanted. The 1/2-inch plywood splintered a lot less when I cut it at home, so I got a nice side to use as the one that would be visible, though I suppose that it's all pretty hidden anyway. I used a folded bit of sandpaper as a spacer to get non-zero clearances and skinny little offcuts to be the rails that separate drawers and give them something to slide on. It all ended up a hair more snug than is comfortable, but they'll smooth out with use, right? In the meantime, they sure sound great when they close. The last touch before it goes in is, well, how the heck do I grip those doors and drawers? Hole saw for the win! I asked Leah if she wanted these holes to be perfect, to have metal rings or grommets, or even to stain those visible inner surfaces, and she literally said, and I quote, "I am an adult baby, and I have exhausted my vocabulary in this very sentence." End quote. So I left them as is after doing a little edge work with the X-Acto knife and some rolled up sandpaper. Now it's really done, and we can drag it in the house through the back door, like the opposite of a snitch. We've been ordered to accidentally moida and install it as the new Emperor under the window. Shout out to C.S. Lewis. Let's bask in this, and then it's time to cook dinner. I'm giving myself a B for this one, again, because there were a lot of avoidable mistakes. The snail's trail, those open miters, the door hardware. I even resent that little shim I had to hide under a shelf to make it snug and level. I also wish I'd had a better idea about how to do the backing, because I actually hate that more than anything. But to quote some other wood tuber, most of what you learn as you get better at woodworking is how to hide your mistakes, so that's why it's not a C project. It still looks pretty good. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, like is between tolerate and adore. And if you're willing to subscribe, it's free for the first 3 months, but then it'll cost you plenty for the rest of your life. Or just hit the button because I heard it's recently been fixed. Thanks for watching. I'll be in the garage.